Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Lowell. I'm a Microsoft consultant with Champion Solutions Group in MessageOps. I'm joined today by Chris Johnson, who's one of our senior Microsoft consultants. How's it going, Chris?
Hey, what's going on, Ryan? How you doing?
Doing great. So today we're doing a video as part of our series around Microsoft 365 and Azure security and governance. Today specifically about Microsoft Cloud App Security. I'm really glad that we're doing this at this point because we've been going the last couple of months through this COVID stuff. As of about March, we and our clients have been shoveling as much stuff as we can possibly get into the cloud as quickly as we can. And now we've gotten to the point where it's all got pretty much getting there, but now they're saying, all right, how can we start putting some security, some governance, some visibility around this stuff? And I think it's really great that we're talking about cloud app security because that's one of the really key tools in the Office 365 suite that'll help do that. So, Chris, why don't you give us a little bit of an overview of what is cloud app security? How does that kind of tie into the security picture with Microsoft?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. MCAS is how you'll hear me say multiple times, and Ryan as well, stands for Microsoft Cloud App Security. It's probably one of Microsoft's most important applications in their cloud app security stack or framework, if you will. And really what it does is it gives the organizations more visibility into what's going on inside of their cloud environments. It is a CASB, a cloud app security broker. It will bring in data from a number of applications across the internet, and that's just one component of cloud app security. Inside of there, here, let me show a diagram real quick. Here we go. So inside of Cloud App Security, we've got, this is a nice diagram from Microsoft's website. We can do cloud discovery, see what's going on with different applications, different things that are being shared throughout the organization, all across the internet. We've got these different app connectors that will access different applications like Box and Dropbox and things like that, and will allow you to see what users are sharing outside of your organization and to be able to provide some sort of security surrounding it. It will allow you to monitor. I mean, we can see exactly what's going on inside of your organization, any type of malicious or risky logins. Data retention is another one as well, where you're able to protect that data and see what's going on with, data that's been discovered that's older than 180 days or, older than a year or less than a year, any type of governance that you've got. So you can definitely get quite flexible with cloud app security. There's other things as well. Some of the new advances that we've had recently are conditional access, which is Ryan's going to talk about a little bit later. But with conditional access app security, we can definitely, really get a full picture of and protection of the organization's data. So Ryan and I, we have a demo environment here, courtesy of Microsoft's Contoso environment, and this is the Cloud App Security Dashboard. This is what you see when you log in and once you start to funnel this data into MCAS. And as you can see, right at a bird's eye view, you get quite a few things of what's going on inside of the organization. How much data is coming in here from a risk level, and you could change this risk level to be quite a few different levels, different app categories, cloud storage, webmail, where all of these applications are coming from. The discovered applications, and this is what I was mentioning before, where it is a CASB, this cloud app security broker, where it will go out and see what you're sharing out across the internet and bring that data into MCAS for review. So you can see in this particular environment, we've got 1.5 gigs of OneDrive data, and then we've got Box and some other items all across the internet as well. So this is an excellent dashboard to get just a general overview of what's going on inside of the environment.
So this is really great for hunting like shadow IT. People are using unsanctioned apps and things like that inside the organization that, IT's gone through and set up Office 365 and your SharePoint and your OneDrive, but maybe you've got that one group of people that's using Google Drive or somebody's using their personal storage. So this really gives you not just the ability to control, but the visibility for everything that's being used.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, even just right here from the very top where, again, we haven't even dug down into the other items inside of MCAS, but you can see all of the discovered apps within your organization. And you can see the traffic, the upload, the users that are utilizing it. And each one of these we can dive into a lot further to see who is doing what, when they're doing it, the last time they were seen doing it, IP addresses from where they're doing it from. I mean, we get complete visibility inside of the Azure Active Directory, for what your users are doing. And yeah, you nailed it, Ryan. Complete shadow IT. You can see exactly what's happening inside of the organization. Continuing on inside of here, probably one of my favorite parts of MCAS is underneath the investigate section. I mean, this is where you can get really verbose information on what's going on inside of the environment. Microsoft has provided us quite a few out-of-the-box policies and templates, so you can get some default things, right? You can see that the administrator logged on. You can see the IP address that the user logged on from, and you can see the application. So that's me here in Colorado, and this is probably Ryan as well. And then you can see all of these other logins as well into the environment and which users are doing it. So this gives you a very detailed view of exactly what's happening inside of here. Now, there are certain, little bit of a time period that this stuff is being held as far as the logs are concerned. And Microsoft does have the, your log data that is held for 6 months for free, 180 days. That's excellent. That's better than the 30 days we've seen. So 180 days, MCAS will hold this data. Discovered data. So any of this discovered information, Microsoft's going to hold it for 90 days. That's nothing bad about that either. So we definitely get some extended periods of time that we can hold this data. And then, if you need anything beyond that, that's when we start talking about storing it and configuring and tying this into an Azure environment, utilizing log analytics and possibly Microsoft's Cloud SIM, Azure Sentinel. So that's where all of this stuff would tie into. A little bit further, you see we've got files. So it's not just investigating the activity log and what users are doing when they're logging in, risky logins, things like that. But we can also see the files that they are accessing through the Azure Active Directory and exactly what users are doing with it, who's collaborating with it. Is it shared outside of the organization? This gives you an entire picture of what's happening inside of the environment. And then when you tie this in with other applications like Enterprise Mobile Security, EMS, you can tie in Azure Information Protection. And now I can see, okay, this user's got a sales memo that has maybe some PHI information, credit card information, social security numbers. And maybe we want to assign some classifications or labels on this automatically before we're allowing it to share outside of the organization. It is again your it's probably, again, like I said, in my opinion, probably Microsoft's most critical security component that they've released for Office 365 in quite some time.
Yep, and the integration with Office 365 is really great. There's a number of different ways to get the information into Cloud App Security. Obviously for certain services, you're going to pipe in your firewall logs and things like that. But for things like Office 365, some of the other really common ones like Dropbox, they've got just built-in integration, just a couple of clicks, plug in your credentials. Yep, they're all there listed on the screen, and just makes integrating those really easy. The other thing that I really like that's been relatively recent was if you have Defender ATP on your mobile devices or on your devices outside of the organization, Defender can actually go and grab all the traffic and all the information off the devices. They don't need to be on your network. They don't need to be passing through a firewall. You can just pipe all that information straight into MCAS. Really super handy.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the Defender ATP, so I'm glad you mentioned that as well. I mean, the possibilities with MCAS are literally endless. There are many things that we can do within MCAS, with multiple applications. Really the only other things that I wanted to mention from a high level overview with MCAS, now we've got under control where we can see our policies. Again, these are our out of the box built-in policies that Microsoft's provided us. And as you can see, we've got risky sign-ins, things like that, risky OAuth, data exfiltration, things like that. But if you look a little further, these are the different types of policies that we've got: file policies, app discovery policies, and things like that. So these are our out-of-the-box policies. But of course, these out-of-the-box ones are okay, but maybe we want to go ahead and create our own. That's where a lot of the other power of this comes into play. So I can, if I have something very specific that my organization is looking for, I can create a policy around it. MCAS will go out, do the searching for it, and then I can have something happen when I find it. I was working with a customer. They needed to know what was shared out of their organization, out of box. So they are using Office 365. They're using the Azure Active Directory. They're using utilizing MCAS, but a lot of their data is stored in box, and that's completely okay. Well, they needed to understand what users were sharing data outside of box that had PHI information. We used MCAS for it. We assigned a file policy to it. We created a custom file policy. You can see right here on the screen the simple template that you would go through. And then at the end are governance actions. And that's where this really gets amazing, is when we start talking about governance. Because just finding the data is one thing, but how you're handling this data, what's going to happen when that data is found is another thing. Are we allowing our users to share this out of the organization? What happens if a user has some sort of data that has triggered this type of a rule? We can tie in automation. Power Automate is an excellent workflow platform that's built on the Azure Logic Apps platform that we can tie in for automated actions to occur. You can see some other items from a OneDrive for Business perspective. We can make files private. We can throw them in the trash. Things like this. This allows you to truly have complete visibility into your environment. As I mentioned earlier, this all ties in to this entire security and governance and this entire framework that you want to have around your organization. And when you tie this in with Azure Sentinel, when you tie this in with log analytics, when you think about what your organization is doing from that hybrid perspective with the Azure cloud, that entire story, that entire picture, comes into focus. Champion, we have an excellent offering, the Azure Glide Path, and what that allows you to do, it is a jump start, it is a workshop, and we also work with the organization themselves to establish those security policies, establish that governance, establish that visibility for your organization. It's really about having that conversation, starting that conversation, because what happens is these organizations, many people will go into Office 365, will go into Azure, will deploy applications or servers, and then all of a sudden we start to think about, wait a second, how is this secure? Who's allowed to do this? Are we deploying resources in the Eastern region, the Western region, overseas? How do we know when somebody's deploying a virtual machine that's blowing through our forecasting budget? So those are the types of things that we cover in our Glide Path series, and it's it's excellent, and Ryan and I can absolutely speak to that, and as well as many other engineers at Champion, so that's pretty much what I wanted to mention regarding Glide Path. Ryan?
Yeah, Glide Path's a great program. Like Chris said, covers security, governance, deployment, and cost management. That's a huge part.
We forgot about cost management.
If you don't have your policies and your controls set up around that, all of a sudden, how did my bill jump up $10,000 this month? So absolutely something that we can help with. It's a great program, and it's just getting started. There is so much more that's coming down the pipe from that. So if anyone's interested, you can reach out to us. You can speak to your customer manager. We're happy to start that conversation around cloud app security, Azure Glide Path, just security around Microsoft 365, and taking care of some of this. Now that we've gotten everything into the cloud, how do we secure it? How do we govern it? How do we make sure that we're on the right path? So
absolutely, yeah. One last thing about it, Microsoft developed this amazing cloud application framework. And that is what the Glide Path program is framed after. So I want to make sure that it's that it's known that this is developed in accordance to best practices for the cloud adoption in general. And there are a lot of crossover. There's a lot of crossover. I mean, we're talking about MCAS, and we're talking about Azure Active Directory, and we're talking about the Office 365 stack, but you can't help really talking about Azure Sentinel, because maybe your security team prefers to look at these logs through Azure Sentinel and doing some incident logging and hunting that way. Maybe you're using log analytics as well because you have some custom logs that you want to refer to, and maybe you're doing some custom alerts as well. So all of this stuff with Azure, the Azure Active Directory, Office 365, all falls under that cloud adoption framework, and we want to make sure with the glide path, the glide path program that that organizations are definitely abiding by it and being as secure and verbose within the organization as possible.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Absolutely.
So I think that's all we got time for today. But like we said, if you have any interest in Azure Glide Path, Cloud App Security, Microsoft 365, EMS stack, we have a team of Top Gun engineers, and we're happy to help with anything any organization needs.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.